So we're getting even closer to the Week 14 matchup against Philadelphia. Both teams are sitting at 8-4. But let me tell you, these are two teams heading in completely opposite directions right now. We just came off that dominant 31-14 win over the Raiders in Week 13, and man, it felt good to see this team firing on all cylinders. But the Eagles have dropped 2 straight losses, including that ugly 24-15 loss to the Bears last week. And listen, things got so bad in Philly that some fans actually vandalized the offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo's house after the loss. Patullo even said it crossed a line, and honestly, I can't blame him. But that tells you how desperate Eagles fans are right now, and that desperation makes them dangerous coming into this game. Now, let me break down what we did against the Raiders because it was honestly one of our most complete performances all season. We piled up 192 rushing yards, completely controlled the clock and the tempo. The defense was absolutely suffocating, holding Vegas to just 31 rushing yards and sacking Geno Smith 5 times. And here's the stat that really stood out to me. We converted 12 of 17 third down. 12 out of 17. That's how you sustain drives. That's how you keep your defense fresh, and that's exactly what we need to do against Philadelphia. Now let's talk about the offensive matchup, because this is where it gets interesting. The Chargers are averaging 346.8 total yards per game, which ranks us 10th in the NFL. The Eagles' defense? They're giving up 347.2 yards per game, ranked 25th. So basically, we're moving the ball about as much as they typically allow. It should be a tight yardage battle. We're scoring 23.1 points per game, which puts us 18th, just slightly above what the Eagles' offense scores at 22.5 points per game. But here's the thing. The Eagles' defense only surrenders 20.8 points per game, tied for 9th best in the league. So they play that bend, don't break style. They'll give up yards, but they tighten up when it matters. Justin Herbert is the key to everything we do. He's got 2,842 passing yards and 21 touchdowns so far this season. Now, I know everyone's worried about that fractured left hand from last week. He had surgery on Monday to stabilize it with a protective plate and screws. But here's the good news. It's his non-throwing hand, and Jim Harbaugh is optimistic he'll start. Herbert himself said after Wednesday's practice that he's feeling better day by day. If there's anyone who can play through this, it's Herbert. The guy came back and finished the game against Vegas after getting hurt. That's the kind of toughness we need in December. Our passing attack averages 224.7 yards per game, ranked 12th, and we're facing an Eagles secondary that allows 218.3 pass yards per game, which is 19th in the league. Pretty average, right? But here's what concerns me. Philadelphia has only allowed 12 passing touchdowns all year, tied for the fewest in the NFL. They clamp down in the red zone, and they don't give up big scores through the air. However, they might be shorthanded in the secondary. Starting safety Epps is on IR, and their star corner Jair Alexander, who they brought in this year, is questionable with a knee injury. If Alexander can't go, that's a massive break for our receivers. But let's be real about our offensive line situation. We lost Rashawn Slater for the year with that kneecap injury, and Joe Alt is out too. Herbert got sacked 3 times by Vegas, and now he's facing an Eagles pass rush that has 38 sacks on the season. Guys like Hasten Reddick and Josh Sweat are going to be coming after him all night. But here's another piece of good news. Their defensive tackle, Jalen Carter, is probably out also due to a shoulder injury. He just got a procedure on both shoulders. They are evaluating him on a day-to-day basis, but for sure, he is out for this game. The running game, though, man, this is where I'm getting excited. We found something last week. We're averaging 122.1 rushing yards per game, ranked 12th, but against Vegas, we exploded for 192 yards. Kamani Vidal had that beautiful 59-yard touchdown burst in the second half. Since, Najee Harris out for the season with that Achilles injury, and rookie Omarion Hampton still on IR with his ankle. Vidal's been effective as RB1, and Jared Patterson is contributing too. He scored last week and talked about how it's going to take everybody in December football, and he's absolutely right. Omarion Hampton was expected to play against the Raiders, but they didn't. They gave him extra rest. His 21-day window is already open since last week. Everyone is hoping he will be back this week against Phil. Now, if you pay attention to the Jim Harbaugh recent interview, and when he was asked about Vidal, he said he played like #1 back. Did you get his point? I won't be surprised if Hampton starts a few weeks as a Vidal's backup, but I'm pretty damn sure when both backs are available, our running game will be on next level. And here's why I think we can run on them. Philadelphia allows 128.9 yards per game, ranked 24th in the NFL. The Bears' ground game gave them trouble just last week, and they're dealing with injuries on their front 7. Edge rusher Ogbonnakio is out for the year, And linebacker Azeez Ojulari is likely out or limited with a hamstring issue. They've already surrendered 14 rushing touchdowns this season, tied for 6th most in the league. If we commit to the run like we did against Vegas, if Greg Roman sticks with that balanced attack with quick hitters and power runs that neutralize the Raiders' pass rush, we can control the clock and keep Jalen Hurts off the field.
Third downs are going to be absolutely critical in this game. We're second best in the entire NFL on third down, converting 48.3% of the time. Only Green Bay is better. The Eagles' defense, they're allowing a 42.5% third down conversion rate, ranked 25th. This is a huge advantage for us. If Herbert and the offense can stay ahead of the chains and execute on third down like we've been doing, we can extend drives against the unit that struggles in that area. We saw the Raiders go just 3 for 12 on third downs against our defense last week, and now our offense needs to flip that script on Philly's defense. But here's where it gets tricky, and this is something that's frustrated me all season: the red zone. We've only got a 51.2% red zone touchdown rate, ranked 23rd in the league. We keep settling for field goals. Remember that 56-yarder Cameron Dicker nailed last week? That was because a drive stalled inside the 20. Meanwhile, the Eagles have one of the league's toughest red zone defenses, allowing touchdowns on just 50% of trips, which is 4th best. So even if Herbert drives us down the field, punching it in for 6 is not going to be easy. This is where not having a power back like Najee Harris really hurts. We might need to get creative. Maybe even use backup quarterback Trey Lance in a mobile package to punch it in. Lance took a few snaps mid-game last week when Herbert was out, so we know he can handle it. The turnover battle has me a little nervous. Philadelphia is +5 in turnover differential, with 13 takeaways versus 8 giveaways. That's a top 10 mark. Their ball-hawking secondary has 12 interceptions. We're sitting at -1, with 13 takeaways and 14 giveaways. Herbert's thrown some untimely interceptions this year, and we've had fumbles pop up with the rotating running backs. We got an interception from Tony Jefferson last week off Geno Smith, so our defense is doing its part. But offensively, we absolutely must protect the football. If we give the Eagles extra possessions, Hurts in that offense will eventually make us pay. Now let's flip it and talk about when they have the ball, because this is actually where I feel most confident. Our defense is ranked 3rd in the NFL in total yards allowed at just 275.3 yards per game. The Eagles offense, they're only 24th, averaging 304.8 yards per game. This is a classic strength versus weakness matchup. We held the Raiders to just 209 total yards and 14 points last week. We're giving up 21.0 points per game, ranked 11th, and the Eagles are scoring 22.5 points per game, ranked 19th. They haven't cracked 20 points in their last 2 games, so points could be at a premium for them. Jalen Hurts has 2,514 passing yards and 19 touchdowns through 12 games. Those numbers are down from his MVP caliber 2022 season, but he's still dangerous because he takes care of the ball. Philly has only thrown 5 interceptions all year, which means Hurts rarely makes killer mistakes, but he's going to be tested by our elite pass defense. We're allowing only 168.3 pass yards per game, 2nd best in the NFL. Our secondary with Derwin James Jr., Tarheeb Still, Elijah Molden, and Dante Jackson has been sticky all year. Opposing quarterbacks are completing just 61.2% of throws against us and averaging a measly 6.4 yards per attempt. Here's the stat that blows my mind. No quarterback has thrown more than 2 touchdowns in a game against us this season. We've only given up 12 passing touchdowns total, tied for the fewest in the league, and we've snagged 11 interceptions ourselves. The Eagles will try to attack us with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, who've combined for over 1,500 receiving yards. Smith leads the team with 802 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Brown has 699 yards and 6 touchdowns. Brown's the physical yak monster, and Smith's the silky route runner. But we've got matchups for him. Corner Michael Davis has the size to tangle with Brown, and Samuel Jr. can mirror Smith's routes. Plus, Derwin James is probably going to be roaming around, maybe bracketing their tight end Dallas Goedert or jumping short routes. The pass rush is where we're really going to make life miserable for Hurts. Khalil Mack is having a resurgent year, and Tuli Tuipulotu just notched his 10th sack of the season last week. We're averaging around 3.3 sacks per game over the last 3 outings, and we hit Geno Smith repeatedly in Week 13. Now, here's the Eagles' biggest problem. Their offensive line is completely banged up. All-pro right tackle Lane Johnson is not expected to play with that ankle injury, and that's a massive blow. Their interior is hurting too. Right guard Landon Dickerson is questionable with a knee issue, and center Juergens is questionable with a concussion. Backup Tyler Steen is iffy with an oblique. They might be starting backups in multiple spots, and that's terrifying when you're facing our front. Hurts is already not 100% himself. He's been wearing a knee brace from earlier hits this season. If he's under constant pressure, it could lead to sacks or rushed throws, and that's when our defense creates turnovers.
The Eagles' run game has been good but not great. They're averaging 108.5 rushing yards per game, ranked 22nd. They do have Saquon Barkley, who's got 740 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns this season, and combined with Hurts' legs on designed runs and scrambles, it's a two-headed attack we need to contain. But our run defense has been solid, allowing just 106.9 yards per game, ranked 13th. We completely erased the Raiders' ground game last week, holding them under 75 rushing yards for the 7th straight game. One thing we need to watch for, though, we've given up 14 rushing touchdowns this season, which is among the higher totals. Short yardage situations could be a vulnerability, especially against Hurts' signature QB sneak, that tush push that's nearly unstoppable. We need to be ready for that formation. Third downs when they have the ball flipping our favor big time. The Eagles are converting only 34.5% of third downs, ranked 28th in the league. That's surprisingly poor for a team with their talent. Meanwhile, we're 4th best in third down defense, allowing just 34.8% conversions. If this trend holds, the Eagles are going to have a hard time sustaining drives. We specialize in getting offenses off schedule with sacks or tackles for loss, then clamping down on third and long. Derwin James has a knack for timing blitzes perfectly, and if we can force the Eagles into punting situations, we'll be handing the ball back to Herbert frequently. But when they do reach the red zone, watch out. Philadelphia has the #1 red zone offense in the NFL, scoring touchdowns on 75.9% of red zone trips. That's astonishing efficiency. Whether it's Hurts running it in, play action to the tight end, or jump balls to A.J. Brown, they usually find pay dirt. We're above average in red zone defense at 55.3% touchdown rate allowed, ranked 11th, but this is the ultimate strength versus strength. Now, let me hit you with the injury report because it's going to play a major role. Justin Herbert's fractured left hand is the #1 storyline. He's expected to play with that protective plate, but his mobility and ball handling, taking snaps and handing off, might be slightly affected. If anything goes wrong, Trey Lance is ready. He got all the first-team reps in practice Wednesday just in case. For the Eagles, Lane Johnson being out is huge. Jack Driscoll or a backup will likely face Khalil Mack in pass protection, and that's a mismatch we need to exploit. Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens being questionable weakens their interior line even more. They've also got Miles Hinton and Luke Fondololo in IR, so they're incredibly thin at offensive line. On our side, Jamari Sawyer stepped in at left tackle and actually did well containing Max Crosby last week. He said it was like riding a bike to be back protecting Herbert. But now he's got Hassan Reddick this week, another tough assignment. We've also got Trail Pipkins out with a knee injury from earlier in the year. The fact that our line held up against Vegas is impressive, and we need that same performance again. Will Dissly being out sick means Oronde Gadsden will carry more of the loaded tight end, and we might see Tyler Conklin in 2 TE packages. On defense, we've got several guys on IR like Junior Colson, Deshaun Hand, Otito Agbonia, and some cornerbacks, but our starting defense is mostly intact. Tony Jefferson made his presence felt with that interception last week. For the Eagles, they're without Marcus Epps at safety, and Jair Alexander being questionable with that knee injury is potentially huge for us. If he can't go, that removes their best cover corner. They've also lost Ogobinho Okoronkwo for the year, and Azeez Ujulari is likely out, weakening their front 7 depth. So, here's my prediction. I think we win this game, but it's going to be close. I'm going with Chargers 24, Eagles 20. Here's why. Our defense is the best unit on the field in this matchup, and with the Eagles' offensive line banged up, I think we're going to get consistent pressure on Hurts all night. Our run game found its rhythm last week, and I believe we can exploit Philadelphia's 24th-ranked run defense. If we commit to the ground game like we did against Vegas, control the clock, and convert those third downs at the rate we've been converting, we can keep Hurts on the sideline. Bolt up!